What up, what up, what up? Alright, so finally some. Alright, Lisa, I've just invited you. She should hopefully pick up. That works. Hi, Emma. Make sure you say hello when you jump on. Lisa, I sent you an invite. Did it come through? Hi, Rachel. Did you get the invite, Lisa? What's happening? Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get Lisa on. It's been sent. Oh. Hi, Amber. Can you send again? Okay. Yep, it's sent. Hi, Katie. Oh, so many beautiful women on. So we're just technical difficulties trying to get Lisa on. How's everyone's Sunday been? Hope you've had a great day. And you like lace? How are you, Katie? Are you getting a notification? Connecting. Oh, hi.
Here I am.
How you going? We got there.
Whoops.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we did. I'm so sorry.
That's
yeah,
all right.
I can. I'm just trying to fix up a bit of angle so it looks a bit better. There you go.
Awesome.
Oh,
How
wow.
are
Sorry.
you?
That was tricky,
That's
wasn't
all right.
it?
Yeah, I know.
Hi, I'm
I
good.
thought it was
Hi,
as
everyone.
simple as like sending an invite to you, but then I was like, oh my goodness, there's something else I need to do. So I just quickly Googled it and then figured it out. Thank God for Google, hey?
Excellent.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's so lovely to see everybody on here. Make sure that you say hello when you jump on. So as mentioned, I'm with the gorgeous Lisa Murray here, and tonight we are chatting all about self-care. So Lisa, you have written a book called something to burnout. Sorry, I've completely drawn a blank.
Living Beyond Burnout.
Living Beyond Burnout, that's it. And is that your first book?
It's my second book, actually.
Second book, awesome. And what was the first one? Is the first one around self-care as well?
Kind of. The first one was called Stop Waiting, Start Creating. And I mean, creativity is a big part of self-care, actually. So in its own way, yes, it was. It was actually the book I wrote trying to avoid writing the burnout book. You know?
Oh, okay.
But in the end,
The
I had to write the
procrastinator
burnout book.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
nice.
much.
Awesome. So
Hi, everyone.
what does self-care actually mean for you? So what's your experience with it?
Yeah, well, it's varied, my experience of it, that's for sure. Look, what I would say is, for me, really, at this point in time, self-care is very much about a deep nurturing, a deep nourishment of who I really am, because I think it's really easy to get caught up in the idea that self-care is, go and get a massage, go and get a facial, have a day off.
Yeah.
But what I know from having burnout is that those things didn't really make a difference when it came down to it. I needed stuff that was much deeper, much more connected with who I truly am.
Yeah, and I can resonate with that so much, because I think it's really put out there into the world that, self-care is all bubble baths and getting your toes painted and that kind of thing. And it's not. It goes so much deeper for me personally. And I know that my experience with self-care is, when I know that I need it, like, so this weekend I was like, my body was screaming out to me, you need to be taking care of yourself. And for me, that meant switching off social media. That was my self-care, and doing things around the house that I've been trying to do.
Yeah, I think a big part of self-care is just saying no, quite frankly. Like, when I look at what happens most of the time when I really require self-care, it's like, what do I need to say no to so I can say yes to me?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's so true. So has it always been something that you've practiced, self-care, or is it, you mentioned that you've experienced burnout?
I was terrible at it. I mean, like, my idea of living was work really hard, do lots of stuff, play really hard, never rest, So, and within that, what I would say is that I was lost in all those things. I wasn't actually even clear on who I was, let alone how you would care for that person, So I definitely had a lot of time, because, it wasn't one lot of burnout, it was more like 3. And I definitely had a lot of time where there was no self-care. And, I think too, it's that thing of how you allow other people to treat you. Because what I saw during those times of burnout, they were always times when I was allowing other people to treat me in ways that were not good, Yeah. And so self-care, it's a really interesting beast. It's just so different to what I first imagined. Like, I remember the first time someone said, well, you need to do some more self-care. And I just was like, oh, shut up. Like I didn't want to hear about self-care. Because I had that idea that it was, those really basic things that everyone raves on about. But of course, the true self-care is care of the self. It's care of who you be. And when you get into that space, then actually everything can change.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you find, because I particularly find it, especially in business, and there's that real masculine mentality of hustle, hustle, hustle. And I think, we as women are definitely not that way inclined, and it doesn't work. Like, the times that I try to hustle, I just fall apart. It does not work for me. So how do you find that? Like, do you find that that's the same for you?
Oh, look, I worked in very competitive industries, very high pressure industries at different times. And of course, it was all about the hustle. And when I look back, though, the jobs that I did best in were the ones where I had choice about how I spent my time and where I could actually be creative. Because for me, and I mean, I've had my business now for almost 10 years, but I've had a lot of choice. And I think the first maybe year and a half, I was still a bit in the hustle mode. It took a little while to unwind from it. Because, at that time, I don't think I even knew what else there was available.
And that's
but
all
I
that's kind
realized
of
that there had to be.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I knew there had to be something else, because what I had wasn't working. So I was like, well, if this isn't working, there must be something else, And it's drummed into us that you have to, like, people told me all sorts of things when I started my business. They were like, well, you're going to have to cold call, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that, all these things. And I was like, that's a nasty list of stuff that I hate doing,
Exactly. And if you hate it, then people can, like, totally pick up on that, and they don't see that you're being authentic, or it's just, it doesn't work.
All of that. No, no. And, you know, like 10 years ago, the conversations around authenticity, around flow, around being creative, around allowing yourself space, none of that really existed very much back then. You know, it was such a small minority of people having those conversations. So I didn't
Do you
have a
think that's
lot of
do you think that's because there's more
inspiration.
oh sorry. Do you think that's because there's more
Yeah.
women like rising up now and going and stepping into those leadership roles
Yeah.
and going, this is what works for us and this is what doesn't?
I think it's that. I also think it's that, like, you know, when I had burnout at that time, no one even talked about burnout. I didn't know I had burnout because no one talked about what it was. And it was only when I started talking to people one-on-one and saying, well, you know, I had a bit of a meltdown and I can't really work at the moment. And they were like, oh, yeah, I had a bit of a breakdown. And eventually someone named it. And I was like, oh, it's burnout. Like, I didn't know because I didn't even know it was a thing, you know. And so I think the thing now where people are so much more willing to talk about these things means that, you know, there's alternatives. You know, this is not the way it has to be. You know, like when I had the burnout, people saying, oh, go and get a vitamin B injection, basically so you can keep, you know, killing yourself even faster. And that was pretty much the point of view. It was like, go and get a personal trainer, go and get some vitamin B injections. And when I went to the doctor, it was, oh, and why don't I add some antidepressants to that mix? You know, and when you look at it, that is
just medicate the
worst cocktail. Well, yeah, medicate, but the worst cocktail of things to actually, you know, kill you faster. And so it was just crazy. And I just think it's so different now. And I'm so grateful for that. Because I had to really discipline myself not to work myself to death because it was just so ingrained, you know.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like especially, you know, being a woman stepping into an entrepreneurial role and running my own businesses, to have that knowledge is just such a relief and a godsend, because that, you know, if I was trying to push myself in that hustle mentality, there's no way I could do what I'm trying to do or what I'm creating now, what I am doing now. So it definitely,
it doesn't actually work.
No.
What's really interesting is for most women,
I don't understand how men do it.
For most women, well, they, in some ways, they are structured differently. Let me say it that way. But also, I mean, it's very ingrained in the masculine energy to be doing. You know, the masculine energy is a doing energy, and we all have, of course, the masculine and the feminine. But the feminine energy is to allow, to intuit, to give space to what needs to evolve. And like, I know for me, I actually create so much more when I leave space, when I actually just allow there to be nothing there. Because in that space, like if I work 3 or 4 days a week, well, not even stillness, space. There's a difference for me with those two things. You know, stillness is a doing nothing, but space is no force, no pressure, no have to, no should. It's more about following the energy, and it may be doing sometimes, but there's a space in the doing where it's effortless.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know, and I find that if I can keep myself in that space, everything works. When I go out of that space, as I sometimes do, even now, you know, there's still moments where I'm like, oh, damn, I fell out of that space. You know, then when I do that, of course, it's a totally different thing and everything comes to a clunking great big halt. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And I think the more aware of it you become, the more you just notice it and you pick up on it so much faster. So, you know, previously, what had happened this weekend, I would have just kept going and going and going and going previously, and until I just went, I can't actually go anymore. Whereas this time around, I was like, whoa, something's tapping me. Like, I'm getting a big tap on my shoulder. You just need to stop. Like, stop, because you're struggling. You can feel it. And it's an energetic thing for me too. Like, I feel it so much when I'm fighting against myself and fighting against, it's like a wall, and I just feel like I'm batting up against it when my body's trying to tell me, or my soul's trying to tell me to stop and take care of myself, and I can feel it. And as soon as I stop and step back, it's just gone. And then next thing I know, like, it may take a day or two, but then after that, everything just flows again, and you're back in that beautiful ease and flow. Grace, whatever, whichever you decide to call it. It's amazing. So how do you feel like practicing self-care has really impacted your life?
So I just broke up. What, just say it again for me?
How do you feel that self-care has, or practicing self-care has impacted your life?
Oh yeah, wow. How hasn't it?
Yeah.
Would probably be the summary.
Uh-huh.
Look, for me, what's really interesting, I think one of the big things that I never would have believed if you had said this to me 10 years ago is literally that I am probably more productive now than I was back then. Because we think that if we don't work harder, faster, more, we will be less productive. But I have really found the opposite to be true. And so it's been quite an astonishing turnaround. I remember going to the acupuncturist, and I had two, and they were both saying to me, Lisa, you'll end up in a wheelchair if you don't stop. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be fine, And they're like, no, really, you're going to have to settle down a bit here. And I just didn't believe them because I was so freaked out about what would happen if I stopped. And of course, what happened when I stopped was that everything got better. Everything, actually improved. And, I have more time to be creative. I have more time to play. I am more creative in the sense, it's not even about the time, it's about the quality of what I produce. All of that is there. And I know, like, the less time I have on the computer, for example, the better off I am. And that everything comes from the space rather than from the work. And literally the work is just what's required to put it into play. But actually, the more I be creative, it's funny, one time I was, I felt like painting. And so I've learned when my body wants to paint, I need to paint. And so I was like, oh yeah, we can do a day of painting. That's all right. So off I go do painting. Anyway, I wake up the next day, my body's like, yeah, let's do painting. And I'm like, did painting yesterday, well, we're going to do it again. I was like, uh-huh. Anyway, this went on for 10 days in a row. Now, I had deadlines everywhere. And I was just like, by about day 6, I'm like, okay, you're getting a little crazy on me now. And I was very much like, you better be sure about what you're doing here because I've got a lot of deadlines and, we're going to have to work really hard to catch up. And my body's just like, shut up and paint. And I was like, all right. Anyway, at the end of that time, what I realized I had was an extraordinary collection of paintings that really became the branding for my new website.
Oh, wow.
And
awesome.
Made it very unique and very different to anything that had been out there and that had been seen before. And I'd been trying to do that website for about 18 months, but it just wasn't going anywhere, And so what I really learned from that was our bodies are incredibly smart. And if we will listen, and I never used to listen to my body. I was like, shut up, body. Just work harder.
Just
keep
do
going,
what I'm telling you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now I'm like, all right, body, what do you got to say here? And like even this last week, I had the worst headaches, like headaches from hell, really intense and like shoulders upwards, basically.
Yeah.
And I ended up sleeping quite a bit and resting quite a bit because I just couldn't do anything else. But literally, my body was wanting to bring me to a certain point where I would let go of some stuff. And, we finally got to that on Friday and I was very happy because it was damn well hurting,
Awesome.
And so it's just really interesting. I think you've got to be so willing to be flexible. That's one thing I've learned from this is to be really willing to be flexible and to receive what is coming to you rather than trying to have it your way and be, the control freak from hell.
Controlling. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like, we have become so disconnected from our bodies, and I feel like I had a massive struggles with my bodies and trying to get it to fit into something that it actually was never designed to fit into, and battled with eating disorders and all sorts of stuff, and trying to force it. Like, I just wasn't connected with it at all. I wasn't loving it. I wasn't appreciating it in any way. And as soon as I kind of switched from that to, wow, this body is incredible, like everything that it does for me, and what I had put it through, and it just keeps going, like it just does not stop. The heart keeps pumping, my lungs keep breathing air, and everything just keeps functioning no matter what I do to it. And I just found this incredible new appreciation for my body, and really started dropping right in and really listening to what it needed. And it is absolutely incredible reconnecting with that, because you just, when you have that faith and that trust in yourself, it guides you. It knows. It's incredible. Like you said, it is so smart. It knows what you need. And if we can all just listen to it a little bit more, gosh, we're just going to be so much happier. Such a much happier human race, for sure. It's incredible. So why do you feel, for women especially, that self-care in business is so important?
Well, without it, you cannot tap what you're aware of. You cannot actually have the energy to make the difference you can make. You know, I do believe that women will lead the world in the years to come because, you know, we're not happy with the status quo. It's not really working. The world isn't working in the ways we desire. And we know there's other options that, you know, without being judgy, are better, that are going to actually make for everyone to have a better life. And if we don't tap into this, if we don't tap into self-care, then we don't have the intuitive awareness, we don't have the energy, we don't have the connections, we don't have the space to actually see what needs to be done. So there's so much that it creates when we actually just allow ourselves to, you know, and it's really interesting because I was about to say have the luxury of this, because that's what most of us think. And it's not actually that I think it's a luxury, but most people think what we're talking about is a luxury. And for me, and I mean, I used to think it was a luxury, definitely. And I see it now as it's probably one of the most essential things I can choose in any given day. Because if I don't have that self-care in place, if I don't have that self-nurturing and nourishment there, then everything takes longer, everything takes more energy, everything goes in worse ways, you know? And so having that flow in place, it's just practical, actually, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it does. It starts to make more sense. But I feel too that, you know, because we have had it ingrained in us that you have to be hustle, hustle, hustle and working really, really hard. Like my partner says to me all the time, are you working today? And I'm like, yeah, I'm working. Like I've done my work, but I also allow space. And he still doesn't quite understand it. And it's taken me a while to get to the point where I go, well, actually, it is okay to not be busy all the time. It is okay to not have this list of to-dos that's like the length of my arm that I don't get through. You know, it's stopping and pausing and creating space and being still is as important. And the times that I do that, I just get so much more done. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, look, and this is the thing, you know, and you know, we've been brought up in this very Protestant work ethic thing of, you know, you have to work hard, basically work hard, play hard. And really, none of it should be hard, first of all. You know,
no, I agree.
There's very little in life that should be hard.
Yeah.
And it's like when we stop making things hard and we actually stop making living about working and we actually allow living to be living, then the work has a natural place in our life and it occurs quite effortlessly. And you know, I see a lot of people, it's like they prove it. There's a lot of proving, you know, because I think the you know, even the status quo still to a large degree is if you work hard or you work enough hours, then you're doing a good job. But the reality is, and it's very interesting, there was an article, I think it might have been on Inc., I'm not sure now, but it was Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, and someone had sort of summarized some things they'd both said this week, and they were basically talking about what we're talking about. They were talking about different ways to be productive, and you know, their languaging is different, their practical application, you know, came from different angles, but it's the same thing underneath it, which is that, you know, there are ways to be productive that are nothing to do with working long hours and working hard. And this, I think, is a huge paradigm shift that all of us over these coming years need to come to, because we're basically suffering needlessly.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it's that, and that's where that rise of the feminine, I think, is really going to take place, is because we are the nurturers, and we are the ones that I think that are really going to start bringing that really into the light, you know, into the awareness of everyone. It would be interesting to see how many men jump on board this kind of thing, though.
I think a lot will over time. I think it'll take a little bit of adjusting. I mean, it took adjusting for me, you know.
Yeah.
Like I was very resistant in the beginning because I only knew one way, or it had been so long since I knew another way. Because actually when I look at school, I never did much work, and, you know, I made it pretty easy for myself.
Yeah, me too.
And at uni as well, actually, for that matter.
Like
it was only when I went to the workforce and people expected you to do stuff that I started changing my habits. But when I look back, I always knew the easy way. And, you know, I just think we need to start valuing different things. And then as we do that, then that actually opens the doors for things to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So do you have, like, how do you kind of practice self-care? What does self-care look like for you?
It's different every day.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that, you know, one of your things you had on your list of possible questions was about morning routines and routines in general. And, you know, I detest routines. I hate them with a passion. But I also do get that sometimes...
sorry, I've just got to say too, that's another thing that I find gets shoved down your throat. And in business especially, you've got to have a routine. You've got to be getting up and doing these first things every morning from 5 a.m. Got to be the 5 a.m. club. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. There's no way I'm getting up. I've got 2 young children. I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. Like, it's just not happening.
Well, it's another form of force and hustle. Whenever there's a have to or a should or a must, it's another form of force and hustle.
Yeah,
and, you
absolutely.
know, for me, I just wake up every morning and I'm like, well, how am I? What's going on? You know, what am I aware of? What does my business require today? What do I require today? And I look at the entire picture and then I make my choices, you know. And so do I have a routine in the sense that I do that every day? Yes. Does it look the same every day? No, it doesn't, you know. And every day is different because, you know, I would be bored to death if I lived the same life every day. And some of those things that people tell you should do are all about living the same life every day so you can fit into the stuff that's been there for the last, you know, 100 years that is actually killing people left, right and center.
Yeah, absolutely. Stress, so bad. So what would be your 3 top tips for anyone watching who's wanting to kind of start incorporating self-care into their lives?
Yeah, I would say get really clear on what truly nurtures and nourishes you. You know, like for me, I'm always surprised at what that is. And it does change over time. It is different on different days. Like, you know, today, like tonight, you probably can't see it. In fact, it's almost gone out, but I lit a fire. I didn't think I was going to be able to light a fire, but I wanted to burn some things. And I just, you know, there's a fireplace in this house. And I was like, oh, wood fire, that'll be nice.
Where do you live?
For half an hour, it wasn't working. I'm house sitting at the moment. I'm having some adventures.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm in Brisbane at the moment. So,
so
yeah.
So am I. I'm sitting here like, oh, it's hot.
No, there
You're
you go.
lighting fires.
Yeah. Yeah, well, just for fun, right? This is
Yeah.
the thing. Other people would do it because it's practical to do it for warmth. I would do it for fun.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, and I thought it wasn't going to light, but eventually it just lit of its own accord. I came back 10 minutes later and it was all like blazing away, so I was really happy. But, you know, so for me, that was self-care. Because it was a very nurturing thing to sit there and just look at the flames and whatever. And yet other days I'd be so bored doing that I couldn't stand myself, you know, so it might be going to the beach or whatever. And so I think though really what the core thing about it for me is giving myself enough space to perceive what's actually going on, being kind to myself in whatever that looks like. And that might be as simple as not judging myself. You know, I didn't make myself wrong that the fire wasn't lighting very well. I was just like, oh, well, if you're not going to light, that's fine. And I walked off. And next thing I come back and it's
raging
away. So like, that's cool. Good work. See, it did it by itself. And that's the thing is if you let
letting
go
go
of the
of
outcomes, it'll
expectations.
do it by itself.
Yeah.
So really for me it's space, it's kindness, and it's the nurturing energy. It's like really just what does it take to nurture who you are as a person and, of course, your body, you know, and your business. Because what I know is when I'm really nurturing for those 3 things, everything just rolls along really well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, all we really have is our health, you know, and if that's not, you know, taken care of, or if we're not looking after ourselves, then we're no good for anyone. And I particularly know that, like, with having kids and everything, it's like, if I am not taking care of myself, I'm a not the kind of mum that I want to be. You know, I'll snap and I'll react, and I see so many mums out there that really struggle with that and don't make time for themselves, and wind up just either, you know, suffering postnatal or just feeling like really low. It's like you need to, and to try and explain to people that, you know, it's okay for you to take that time for yourself. I need it. Like, I love it. And it makes me a better mom. It makes me a better partner. It makes me a better friend, everything, you know, and it just has such a massive impact in my life. So I think it's a really, really important message that needs to get out to everyone, that it's okay to look after yourself. It's not selfish, it's selfless.
Yeah. Well, it's a platform upon which you can build a lot of things.
Yeah,
absolutely. But if you don't have that as part of your platform, then what you've got is pretty much a house of cards that's going to fall down at any moment, because you can't sustain both or physically or energetically what's required to actually build something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, for sure. It's that whole analogy, you know, filling your cup to overflow, that you can give from the overflow, and you've got that solid foundation there that's, you know, that can't be shaken. It's yours.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. All right. So I've got 3 rapid fire questions for you to finish off. So what was the last book that you read?
Oh gosh, I've read a lot lately. What was it? The Tao of Equus is a book. It's about horses and how basically horses as leaders and how horses show you everything you need to know. And it was a very beautiful, I'm really fascinated by this. I've played with horses with this a little bit, but I'd like to learn a lot more. Really beautiful book, actually, really amazing stories in it. So yeah, it was good.
Awesome. I would never have thought that you could learn something from horses, like in regards to leadership.
You can learn a lot from horses, not only about leadership. I mean, horses, they're creative beings, they're aware beings, they're incredible. They can teach you so much about so many things. You go hang out with a few horses in a paddock for a few hours, you'll come back a different person.
Yeah, right. I guess my only real experience with horses was getting bucked off when I went horse trekking once when I was very young. So I haven't really, they've always been kind of fear around them. And that whole knowledge of they sense your fear. So I'm just like, maybe I just shouldn't entertain that at all. Yeah. But yeah, interesting.
They do. They sense everything. They actually sense everything. But you know, I know you said quick questions, but here we are. I want to tell you a story though, because I went horse riding in South Africa on one of the game reserves, and we were out, you know, with the zebras and the antelopes, not with the lions though, or the elephants, but you know, with the things that weren't sort of
weren't so freaky,
you know, because well, horses are they're a prey animal, right? So they get attacked. And so you want to be a good rider to go doing the other ones. And I'm not quite that good. But anyway, it was very interesting because I was riding this horse and we're in a group, and one of the other girls, her horse went sideways and she came off. And I just could feel my horse start to go, and I was like, no. And I gave it a bolt of energy, and it literally just like stood still and froze. And it was the best horse on that ride. It was just incredible. It was just like, okay, sure, no problem. And it wasn't that I was cruel, but I was like, I'm not coming off you. You know? And
I'm the boss.
So it's, well, not even I'm the boss. It was more like, it's all fine. You do not need to be worried. I am going to manage this, you know, and by giving it that energy of safety, I didn't come off, and I was really proud because it's, so I'm not the best rider in the world.
So making the horse feel safe.
If you make the horse feel safe with you, and this is part of leadership as well. I'm just showing you how it works.
Yeah.
Then,
that's awesome.
You know, it works for everyone. Yeah, horses are magical. They can show you a lot of stuff.
Yeah, wicked. I'll have to look into it. So what did you have for lunch today?
Lunch? I didn't really, I'm a very random eater. I didn't really eat much at lunchtime. I don't think I had some fruit this morning about 11 o'clock, but I'm a random eater, so
just pick.
I don't think lunch even applies. Yeah, it doesn't really apply to me. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's fine. I think I had a handful of macadamias and a handful of almonds. That was my lunch.
There you go.
Works for me.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite quote or mantra that you can leave us with?
I think it's a question, actually. And it's literally just, who would I like to be today?
Awesome.
I mean, I have thousands of them, but that's the one that popped when you asked. So let's go with that.
Is that something you ask yourself daily?
I never ask the same questions every day. This is the thing. I don't do anything the same every day.
Yeah,
but I
awesome.
do ask that question a lot because I know that I can be more than I am being.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, well, what else is there, you know? And so it's just, I'm always asking a question about something. And that's probably just, you know, something that's up in my world at the moment. But, you know, it could shift tomorrow or the next day, and then I'll be on to something else and discover some other direction to go in for a little while.
Yeah, beautiful. Love that. Cool. So how can we, us the viewers, support you moving forward?
I don't know. I hadn't thought about that really. So you have supporting other people.
Yeah, you have a Facebook page. You've got books.
Oh yeah, I have a Facebook page. I've got lots of things. Probably my website would be a good place to start. It is creativealchemy.com. And I have a Facebook group called Creative World Changing Conversations or something like that. I never remember the name of it.
Yeah.
So if you want to come and join the group, there's all sorts of random conversations go on in there about creative things, world changing things.
Oh, cool.
You know,
awesome.
Creating a better world, actually, at the end of the day. Yeah.
If you could pop the in the comments the name of it when we
Yes, I will.
That would be awesome.
Yes, I will. Easy peasy. I can do that. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed this. I love learning from others and having these kind of discussions. They're just beautiful. And thank you. Thank you. It was really appreciated. Well,
thank you for having me, Nick. I'm really grateful. And hi, everyone. Thanks. Or bye. Maybe I should say bye.
Bye. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Right. See ya.